Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. It is episode 95. Yes, that is right. We are on episode 95, just 5 weeks off turning 100. The Centurion Club awaits, at which point we will either retire into the distance forever or we'll just sit here and record another 100 episodes. It's a very fine line. My name is Paul. I'll be your host for today. I'm joined by the dynamic duo, of course. It is Alan and Krisho. How are we doing this week, lads? I think we're smiling. Are we smiling? We're smiling.
We're always smiling. Let's be honest about it. We all love this.
Yes, we are smiling now because we've turned the corner. It's a new beginning. I'm on vodka and tonic. It's turned dark. It's the winter time, and I've changed hats from peaked to winter.
See, Krisho, this is where my question comes in, because sometimes I try to gauge the week by what you're drinking. So just give us the scale. Red wine means what? Vodka tonic means what? What's our scale?
Red wine means thoughtful and kind of pensive and yet optimistic. Vodka and tonic just means, well, we won a game. I'm actually quite positive for a couple of days. I won't have too many, mind you. Water is when I've been told to stop drinking alcohol. And then tea is what's going to happen in the next couple of episodes, because I believe it's going to be literally Baltic for the next 5 weeks. Raining and cold and snowing, supposedly, by the end of October.
Please.
Hooray.
Interesting. Well, Alan Williamson doesn't have these choices to make because he's drinking a Monster, which means it's what, Thursday? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's standard day for Alan Williamson. all the return recycling money going into the piggy bank for future spending on bobbleheads and Newcastle kids. And I wouldn't drink from buckets or Wellington boots or anything of the sort.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not with the phone calls and video messages I was getting off you the weekend.
Never happened. Never happened. Okay, lads, I lie. I broke out for one weekend last weekend, but we'll come to that. We'll come to that very shortly. I'm gonna. Do you know what? I'm gonna reveal all as well. I'm in the mood to reveal all from 48 hours in Newcastle of myself and Tev and others, if you will. Before we get to all that, lads, we're just gonna start off. We will obviously talk about Champions League matters. We have big plans coming up this weekend, but we do need to get something out of the way. We haven't recorded a podcast since that last minute disappointment against Arsenal, those pesky red Londoners or whatever you want to call them. We don't like them, they don't like us. And I'll get to the part where Irish Mags on tour happened, and we did have a very good weekend barring that result. But Alan, I just want to touch base with Alan here, because I've heard some stories that transcended the Irish Sea from Dublin to Newcastle. We did talk about it on last week's podcast, how a couple of friends of mine who are avid listeners of the podcast, who are Arsenal fans, whose heads we live in rent-free from one day to the next. So much so, Alan, that they have been asking all week, where's the podcast? They are just refreshing their feeds nonstop, because we know they know all their Arsenal podcasts are shite and they can't be listening to them. However, Alan, I heard there was an infiltration into the Bleaker, or at least an attempted one.
Well, they showed up in and around the 88th minute, so they did see what. Yeah, I don't understand it myself. Yeah, so
a bit like their club.
Yeah, come here. They showed up. They seen their team get a winner in the last minute. They nearly got thrown out for overzealous celebrations, shall we say? But they then apologized, and everything was okay. When there's 40 Newcastle fans and 2 Arsenal fans, and you start shouting in people's faces, never a good idea in my eyes. It would have been more of a, oh, yay, let's go, we won. Get the hell out of here before one of us kills them. But yeah, they were odd, but they were nice lads, to be fair to them. They showed up. I can't say they were respectful because that happened, but come here, it is what it is. But yeah, they showed up.
They would have got I tell you what, they would have got a bloody rock bottom if I was there on a table. Do you know what I mean? Off the top rope. Check these guys coming in. Who are these fellas, Paul? Do you know them? You do.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say was, I mean, they were brave coming in, throwing shapes like that, even if Arsenal won, because plastic fans are very breakable, and Krisho definitely could have broken them across the table or across. Yeah. Such are the plastic fans. So one of them is my mate Rory, who was very upset that when we mentioned him last week, he's also the guy who helped us mix the intro music for this very podcast. Because again, I'll reiterate, they're more invested in the Irish Mags Newcastle United podcast than they are in any other Arsenal podcasts. And I don't see them doing any Irish Arsenal podcasts. No. So one of them is my mate Rory, who gets credit for that and nothing else. Yes. And the other was his mate Luke, who, look, lads, I remember my first beer, okay? We all know what
That's
it's like
true,
to get out and about for the very first time. And I believe they went to the NFL, and they have those big beers that aren't for children, so they must have had at least one or two of them. Maybe they shared one. They might have split one, kind of drank it too fast coming down the stairs. And then obviously, Alan, in their rush to get to the bleaker to see as much of the game as possible, i.e. 88-minute onwards, it obviously just became too emotional for them.
Come here. It is what it is. I probably would have done the same myself, to be fair. So we'll let them away with it.
Well, Alan Williamson can handle his liquor. We all know that.
He sure can.
He can indeed. Well, look, yeah, great to see such a good crowd in the bleaker, obviously, even if there was some Arsenal fans in attendance. Where there was a lot of fans in attendance, lads, was over in Newcastle as well. We had a great number of Irish mags, obviously, in attendance. I went over with Tev on the Saturday, and we were joined by Mick, and for some reason, another Arsenal fan who managed to infiltrate the group, Aaron, who's a buddy of Mick. And we said, lads, because we arrived on Saturday and the game was Sunday, we thought it was time to bring a bit of culture to the Irish mags.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
good.
It's not often that happens, especially when I'm in attendance.
So was it museums or art galleries? Where did you go to?
I'll tell you what we did. We got on a train. And we got on a train early Saturday afternoon. Well, I mean, we started the culture off by having a big, massive fuck-off breakfast in Blake's. Because, that's how you set off the weekend.
That's culture.
Pretty much. That's kind of all we ate for the day. But look, we won't talk about that. Then we decided to get on a train and head for Tynemouth, out to the coast, out to the beach. It was quite a nice day by the time we got there. And, we said we'd visit some sites, tour around the town, the village. There was a market on, loads of stuff. I estimate, and I could be wrong, lads, that we probably walked around for about 6 minutes, looked at the castle, looked at the cliffs, looked at the water, and then went straight back to the pub. And as we came off the train, about 7 sirens came from behind us. Squad cars and ambulances, and we were like, how the fuck did they know we're here? It actually turned out there was a bit of an incident down in the water, but I think everyone was okay. We didn't really stay to find out because obviously we ended up in a pub. Ended up in a pub called, I think it was called the Turk's Head. Loads of beer, craft beers flying all around the place. I may have been climbing through the ladder of craft beer that was there. I've said too much already, and the night ensued. Normal stuff happened. I lost Tev lost me. I found Tev found me. And we both ended up back in the hotel, safe and sound. And then the next morning,
hang on, is that it?
That's to be honest, that's it, Chris Show. That's all. We did it. We went to Filthy's. I lost the boys at one point when I went back to the hotel because I left my wallet in the hotel, and then the lads disappeared into Katie O'Brien's. I was trying to ring Tev. Newcastle, as you know, is a black hole for coverage, so we lost each other for about an hour and a half. Just standard behavior, really. It's all you'd come to expect.
No mention it for your eyes only, or anything, no?
No, my eyes were fine.
Yeah, sure.
Right. My eyes work perfectly. Thanks, Alan. No, not up in this weekend. Or maybe. We'll see. And what did we do then? The following day, Stack was class, as it always is. Another bunch of the Irish mags in there. Just was a gang of us in there. You'll see it in the photos, which are now over on the website, theirishmags.com. But the highlight of the Stack was one of the kind of Newcastle United photographer ladies. It wasn't Serena, but it was probably one of the team there. It was going along with a camera and a tripod. And I just kind of saw her from miles away. And I was like, get over here. And next thing we ended up on the Newcastle United Instagram, waving the Irish Mags flag in the Stack. So literally flying the flag over on the socials. The rest, as you know, is what happened from there. The game, the atmosphere was unbelievable in the stadium. The noise. I was in the Gallowgate. I had Sean Rice behind me, about 2 rows behind me. So we were belting it out, giving it large from there. And unfortunately, lads, as we saw, we were okay. I think a draw was probably the closest to a fair result. I think if anyone was going to win it, probably we deserved to win it less than them. But ultimately, I suppose, Alan, look, 2 set pieces from Arsenal. They've done it again. Do you think we should have done better with both of those?
Yeah, I do think we should have done better with both of them, realistically. Marino's header, pinpoint accuracy in off the post. There's not a whole heap you could do. You could say Pope could make an attempt at it, and maybe he would have saved it on when it hit the post. He could have clawed it away. The second goal, Pope tried to release Elanga. Understand why he done it. It was a poor enough kick out. But Pope done more than enough in that game to warrant having 1 or 2 bad kickouts. So I don't mind that too much. I don't know who was at the front post for the header when the winner went in. The front post should have done better. Pope arguably could have got to the ball as well, but come here. It's not the end of the world. And if you were to have said at the start of the season, lads, we'd have lost 3 games. Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal. We would have given Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal really good games. And 2 of those 3 games we would have lost in the last minute. There's not one Newcastle fan on this planet that would have said, that's a bad start to the season. It's just how we look at it collectively. Optics aren't great on it, but I thought we'd done okay against Arsenal. The subs weren't great. A couple of things could have been different. But all in all, the underdog deserved to get a win every now and then. Like, even when we were poor, we'd eventually go to Man City and get a win the odd time. So Mikel Arteta, after 8 attempts, finally got his win at St James's Park. So something had to give eventually.
And by the skin of his teeth at that as well. Like, talk about leaving it late. And I suppose, Christian, it's fair to say we were up against it for a lot of that game, not creating a lot of chances. I think there was tired legs, tired bodies, tired minds. And I suppose as a man who gets deeply unhappy when Nick Pope does things that Nick Pope does, do you agree with Alan in terms of like Nick Pope kept us in the game for a lot of that game? I have heard kind of conflicting opinions in terms of, like, some people think, well, Ramsdale probably would have made the saves that Pope made. I have questions on that, but ultimately that bad kick did kind of down 30 seconds later.
This time Nick Pope was let down. He was let down by the defence. Clearly, too many open opportunities. Arsenal could have smashed the honest to God chances they had. That could have been 5-1. To be honest with you, Arsenal have been playing really good football. I watched them again. I didn't watch them fully, but I saw the highlights again against Olympiacos. Some of the football they're playing is delightful. I hate to say it, but it's true. And we're just building our new kind of way of playing and trying to fit some new players in and so on. Do we have a set piece coach, or are our lads able to head the ball on? Are they all closing their eyes when we make crosses into the box or when corners come in that we have to defend? Because I'm not really sure how Voltemade, Dan Burn, Chow, Botman, big lads. Okay, I know the lads in midfield are a bit small. Joe Linton's not small. I don't understand how we keep losing. Even the other United against Union, Kevin McAllister, he's the same size as bloody Kevin McAllister in that movie, and he still won headers against our lads. So I'm just kind of like thinking, like, what's going on? We do have a set piece coach, right? I'm not dreaming this, right?
We did hire one, yeah. We did hire a guy, Martin Mark, he's at Midtjylland or Northland or one of those, I think.
Here's the word. And Al, you're right. Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal, 3 close losses at home, right? Naive. And for an experienced backline like that, an experienced midfield, probably the best midfield outwith of Arsenal in the Premier League, is naive. Running around a little bit, panicked. Last 5 minutes of a game, panicked, out of position against Barcelona, against Liverpool, and now against Arsenal, where the ball was essentially just walloped in. Where was Pope? Honest to Christ, where was Pope? And where was Dan Burn and the guys to get that out of there? Like, actually talk about the play that actually led up to the corner that Arsenal got to go 2-1. Like, that's just scrappy. Like, really, really scrappy. So I think they did okay. Arsenal outplayed us all over the pitch, but the last 5 to 7 minutes was pure desperation. And Al, I know you're putting a positive spin on it. I'm just coming in a little bit left of that positive and just saying, look, it's quite evident that we don't have the cohesion that we had before, and that's understandable with new players. But I'm just glad, to be honest with you, that we got those 3 home games out of the way. And when we did okay in them, but we still lost. Let's just cut to shit here. We got no points, whether in Champions League or Premier League. Al, I know what you're going to say, but it's just, I still think that there's been naivety shown in tactics by Eddie, in substitutions by Eddie, and at the times that he made them. There's been naivety, and it's rich of me saying that of a professional football manager, but it's my opinion that there's naivety here in those 3 games.
We would be going absolutely bananas if we had been playing for draws in them games. We're at home team. No, you can't say no, but look, because we lost. If we had gone out and set up those sides to take draws at home, lads would have lost their reason. You have to try win these games. And when you look at it, the 3 sides that have beaten us are all the top 10 of world football.
Yeah.
We're as much as we want to be, we are not in the top 10 clubs of world football yet.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong, Ellen. Like, he's definitely not wrong. I think you can look at it from a very, very positive standpoint, right? Apart from the fact that it's 3 home games, you could say, should we get more 3 home games? But Alan's very correct. 2 of those games, we've literally lost the games on the 96th and the 97th minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the questions for me aren't about like the performance, the work ethic. We're still clicking and gelling. I do see where Chris is coming from about some of the substitutions and the changes. Like when we're 1-0 up on 65 minutes, 3 subs at once, just kind of slightly, does that turn things upside down a little bit? Is it a little bit cautious? When, to your point, Alan, could we have gone another 10 minutes continuing as we were in the same way? And obviously, hoping to catch them on the break as the more they kind of pound us. But then do we turn things upside down a little bit? And then they've just got more experience and a little bit more quality. And obviously that set piece routine that is the best in the Premier League. So I think there's a mix of those factors. But I think if you're going to say what should we be looking at, it's how are we finishing games? How are we closing out games? And that for me is substitutions. Don't want to go into starters and finishers. We can let Mikel Arteta have that one. But particularly those last 10 to 15 minutes or those last 5 minutes or injury time or whatever, I think we need to be a little bit more, whatever the opposite of naive is, a bit more like ready for those scenarios. Because every game we play, whether it's because we're time wasting as everyone would love us to be, or just because of incidents, seems to be quite a lot of injury time. I think you almost need to factor that in and have a plan for those 6 minutes when you're right.
In the Carabao Cup final, 2-1, we finished off that game very nicely. The game management was excellent, right? In that big, massive occasion. Against Arsenal was another big, massive occasion. Big, important game in the Premier League at home. And I think we shit the bed in the last 10 minutes. And we can sugarcoat it all we like. Yeah, but we shit the bed in the last 10 minutes. We also went to sleep against Liverpool and essentially went, oh, you want to score a training ground goal? Oh, there you go. And we did it again. Marino, one of the most dangerous headers of the ball for internationally and in the Premier League. And he got a free header. And then we have Gabriel, who essentially didn't really have to do that much, just to nod it in from 14 inches in front of the goal. Look, it's the naivety thing. I'm not going to get over it. It was hard to watch. It was hard to swallow watching that, because I just think that I really hope that when these things are happening, that we're learning from them and we can learn to kind of close games out that are tight, because we shit the bed there in the 2 of those games. Barcelona's a different story altogether. I think we were quite unlucky in that game. We should have been a draw at least. But those 2 other games, it's concerning. It was concerning until obviously we've come into the last couple of games. We've done all right, but
well, that's a good segue to help us move on to something positive. Just the last point on Arsenal as well, because Tino obviously picks up an injury there, and the latest we're hearing is that it's 6 to 8 weeks, which is possibly better than a lot of people first feared.
That is the best news you could hope for, because when I seen that, I was like, oh, there's Tino gone for another 12 months. That looked like it was an ACL injury and he was going to be done.
I saw the stretcher coming on. I was in the Gallagher. Like, I'm looking over at Tino here, and then I've seen the stretcher being prepared coming out of the dugouts. And I'm like, no, because I'm so far away and you don't have any commentary. You don't know what's going on. And as soon as I saw the stretcher, I'm like, oh, no. Like, he has become such a big player for us. Massive. Not only because of his versatility, able to play in those areas, but just how impactful he is. So, speedy recovery to Tino. He's going to be a big loss. Yeah. And I think now it's probably a good time that Lewis Hall comes back in and shows us the Lewis Hall of last season. Now, here's a good segue, Chris. We didn't see Lewis Hall in the Champions League midweek. We didn't see him start. Yeah. We did see Dan Burns start at left back for the second game in a row, obviously having started against Arsenal, which we've not even talked about yet. But you talked about Arsenal and the end of Arsenal being hard to watch. Safe to say, Union Saint-Gilloise was an easier one to watch, Chris Show. Our biggest ever win in the Champions League, 4-0.
It was delicious, apart from the fact that when I saw it was at 17:45, I read it as 7:45 because I'm blind. But then I was like, wait a second, hang on a hell. And boom, TV on. I was like, oh my God, God damn it. I was just finished work. I was like, oh my God, it's on now. God, I missed the first minute and a half. It was, look at Union, we made them look like Bradford City, or because I know that they're actually quite a good team and they've done quite well. But we made them look like Bradford City. It was a delicious performance all round. It's exactly what Eddie Howe asked for pre-game. It's exactly what he got. Wingers were excellent. Midfield was tough, smooth, delicious. Shaw and Botman. I kind of hope going forward that they are our guys. I think Eddie Howe kind of knows that too. They are smooth, tough, fast, resilient, reactive. They're brilliant. And I can't believe that they're our centre-back pairing for the next couple of years, 3 or 4 years. We made Union look very, 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 very poor. We were all over them like a hot snot. And we were easily 2-0 up by halftime. Alanga was really impressive. He made a lot of space for himself. He worked well with Trippier, and like you said, Al, hands up to Trippier. He's playing really well lately, and fair play to him. We need that. And Voltemata again with a delicious flick. I was just so impressed with how they handled the occasion, because it was raucous there in Anderlecht. You know, at the first 20, 30, even 40 minutes, they were still stinging when they were losing, but we had completely silenced the stadium by the time Harvey Barnes scored that excellent goal. And I'm delighted for Barnes. I'm delighted for Gordon, even though it was only 2 penalties. He needed to start scoring goals. So all round, and I know you guys were going to talk about it, all round incredibly positive, and I was very, very happy to see the game. I was raging that we weren't with Tev and the lads in Brussels getting locked, but hey, look, we have more games coming up.
Yeah, and by the photos we've seen, which will be popping up on screen now if you're watching on YouTube, it looks like everyone did have a great time. I don't know if everyone, I think a couple of tickets might have been floating around, but not many. But fair play to the lads who tried.
Well, speaking of those tickets, so I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Newcastle, and he was actually over in Belgium, and at 11 o'clock that morning, he got a phone call from the club offering him a ticket in the away end.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, what? And he was snapping. So he was over with his dad, his brother, just 7 of them or over, and he's like, I'm over with 7 people. I can't just take one ticket. And they're like, oh, they go, do they have memberships? Yeah. Oh, we have 7 tickets. There was 600 tickets available or something like that. 4 hours before kickoff. So we got 1,800 tickets, and there was 600 available 4 hours before kickoff. That's not right. If you look, the stadium was not full.
I saw that.
The away end was not full at all. There was several spaces in the away. Now, that's not the fans' fault. Something has to give. 4 hours before kickoff, offering tickets out by the club, that's just not good enough, unfortunately.
That is not good enough.
Like, I mean, you'd wonder, like, is it something to do with the fact that it's not their ground, it's Anderlecht's ground? Is there, like, stuff getting caught in between?
Seemingly lads saying they were taking tickets, and at the very last minute saying, oh, I'm not going.
Very strange.
Yeah, odd.
I wonder how many of them lads didn't realize the game was on as early as it was. Maybe.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Well, I forgot to mention just there really quickly before we got into the ticket thing there, but just one thing. Sandro Tonali is the greatest midfielder I've seen in a decade or more play any football match ever. And I knew Brescia, AC Milan, buying him in Pro Evolution Soccer or early stages of people, but I'm a PES man. Tonali is unbelievable. He's a young Perlo. He looks just as fit as he is in the first minute as he does in the 94th minute. He is unbelievable. So best player. Yeah, I'm so glad he's on the back of the jersey, because I want to remember in 10 years' time that we had a brilliant player like that playing in our midfield.
And speaking of which, Alan, because I think a lot of people thought that Sandro Tonali was on the score sheet in this game until you watched the replays, or until you got a second look at it, because it was his shot that then is flicked in. And this is we need to talk about Big Nick energy. Big Nick Voltemade, 3 goals in 5 games. He's now scored on his Premier League debut for Newcastle United and his Champions League debut for Newcastle United. I just want to hear about, like, I think he means it in terms of he knows exactly what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
There was a couple of people saying, is he trying to get out of the way? But I think he's striker instinct.
Yeah,
he's influencing where the ball is going, knowing what's going on around him. So
exactly, he knows exactly what he's doing. And to Uwe Rummenigge, the Bayern Munich and whatever the hell he is, I'd gladly be an idiot and pay €80 million for that man, because he's absolutely class. Oh, he's so good. His hold up play, his running with the ball. He might not be lightning quick, but it's just the power in his movement gets him away from players. And he's 6'6". You can't tackle 6'6". Like, it's just not feasible. He is just so good, and he's only going to get better with Eddie Howe teaching him and coaching him and everything he's got. Like, you just run out of words to describe him because he's going to be unbelievable.
Chris, like, with a player like this, I mean, he's not crazy young, but he's young. And, you look around, you look at other strikers that have come into the Premier League. I mean, even the recent examples, we love to have a go at Man United, right? But you're talking about Šeško, Rasmus Højlund. There are other clubs, there are other strikers. Darwin Núñez is an example, right? There's plenty of them out there. We've had them come to Newcastle as well. But this guy's played 5 games. He's been in the country, just over a month as we record this. The transfer deadline closed a month ago, today or yesterday. For him to be showing how good he is, but already getting slightly better each time we see him. Like that for me is a little bit special. It's rare you see something so soon, but do we also have to approach with caution and not get too carried away and put too much pressure on the lad?
He's only a young lad. Like, I mean, look, he's the first player to score in his Premier League debut and his Champions League debut ever. I believe, unless someone's going to shout in and call in and say it was Michael Owen.
For Newcastle,
for Newcastle, right? But look, he's it's all Eddie Howe. It's all the backroom staff and Graham Jones specifically. He needs to get a big shout out of the work he does with the players and the connection he makes with the players to making them kind of feel good at the training ground and giving them specific instructions. It's all the backroom staff. The guy looks comfortable. He's not Premier League fit, but he not yet. That's why he keeps getting taken off in the 65th minute. But his touch is sublime. He's understanding more now of the breaking of the space out the wings. He's looking that way. He's going, yeah, I'll pass out into space. I know Alanga or Gordon will get on it. The one thing I'm concerned about is that he's brilliant at taking the ball kind of just after the halfway line, making a bit of a turn, putting it out. But he's not going to gallop. Well, he could gallop.
Union San Galawa, Voltemade took the ball down the halfway line and played a 60-yard ball into Alanga. Alanga beat his man and whipped the ball into the front post, and Gordon put it just wide. And steaming in at the back post like an absolute train was Voltemade. So I can't have that. He has a bit of the Haaland run where it might take him a second to get up to speed, but you're not stopping him. He's like a freight train. He's coming in and he's going to go through everything, and he's only going to get better.
No, look, I'm not trying to poke holes in the guy. Like, I think he's a steal at the money we paid for him, because he's already scored 3 goals in 5 games, and he's only going to get better with the coaching from Eddie Howe and understanding the system more. The fact that he has 3, frankly, near world class midfielders, playing behind him and supporting him and looking for through balls for him and trying to give him something. They got Barnes, Gordon, Alanga, Murphy. He's got great service. I mean, with Wissa on ice, I think Voltemade's going to, he's only going to get better. That's why I'm really looking forward to Nottingham Forest, because I know we're going to talk about it later on, but I'm really looking forward to the next game because I want to see more of him. There was certain touches and certain movements in the game against Union, because Union were beat by half time, to be honest with you. Their heads were down. He looked absolutely world class. The way he was going in and out of, he was like Maradona with the ball against Belgium. He was surrounded by 5 or 6 lads, but he just basically spun himself in circles like Spider-Man and just got out of there and played a beautiful pass out the left wing. And I thought, we have something special here. We definitely have something special here. And that flick, I don't care what anyone says, there was no deflection there. That was him being a super sexy, smooth, mustache wearing, was kind of use a word there that I shouldn't use, so I'm going to stop there. Yeah, but that flick was delicious. Something you do in training.
I think it's that stuff like that it's the early comparisons for Voltemade's game. Rather than somebody who you could easily say, oh, well, he kind of looks a bit like Zlatan, or he's big and tall, maybe he should be like Haaland. But Berbatov is the name that has been thrown around in terms of the clever feet and all of that. So I think that, again, you can imagine, or I can picture Berbatov scoring those kind of goals because he's so clever with his feet, and he could just make things happen with his feet in terms of being on the ball. So magic.
Also, a little bit of a Bobby Firmino in him, the way he plays. He drops very deep. And I hated Firmino because he constantly scored and constantly caused us chaos. And he got Salah and Mane scoring silly amount of goals. If Voltemade does half of that, we have an absolutely unbelievable player in our hands.
Well, that's a good segue because, you know, we mentioned Elanga. Elanga was man of the match actually against Union.
Yes.
But we've had goals then. Obviously, Gordon granted from the penalty spot and also Barnes scoring. Something we said ourselves here, lads, over the last few podcasts, like we need to see more players contributing those goals. And granted, okay, opponents-wise, you're looking at Bradford, you're looking at Union. Union are a lot better than Bradford. Yeah. But we've seen Joe Linton scoring, we've seen Gordon scoring, we've seen Barnes scoring, even Osula. Elanga is the one you want to see a bit more of, obviously getting in on the act. But thinking about that, Christian, the way we're talking about Voltemade, Alan's talking about Firmino used to bring in, or create space for Salah, for Mane. And that's what made the two of them so good. Now, that's a big jump and a big comparison. We're nowhere near that yet. But that's something that has potential there to bring more of Gordon or Barnes. Or I'm even thinking about Wissa here and how does that all work if we see Wissa coming back. And then obviously Elanga. You'd like to see more of Elanga linking up with the likes of Voltemade. That is exciting, really, and it's a lot different to what we had last year and the last couple of years with Wilson.
Look, did anyone see Gordon? Gordon started playing the 10, about 20 minutes left against Union. He got more of the ball. He was just after over the halfway line in the middle. Very stylish, head up. He was running rings around them and playing some beautiful balls around, right? I know he's a left winger. We've already discussed this a multitude of times, but I think he looked really nice there in the pocket. That's also where I think either Voltemade would look well, or Gordon there, then Voltemade up front.
But it is a good place to finish, I suppose, because like after the last couple of games now, granted, like formation changes or maybe Eddie Howe's hand has been forced, but there was a point a few weeks ago, lads, when we said, we would expect to potentially see a partnership of Botman and Chow towards the end of the season. Here we are. It's the 2nd of October. We've already seen them twice, if not 3 times. Maybe they started as a 3 and then at times have been finishing as a 2 or vice versa. But they look good. They look good. And we can obviously look, the opponent wasn't as strong and there's a lot more to be seen starting with Forest at the weekend. But that's incredibly encouraging. And to Alan's point, for us to already be in a position where with Burns sliding out to left back and Fabian Schär out of the team, both of those lads' places at centre back are already at stake because Botman and Chow haven't really put a foot wrong in a couple of games, and that's incredibly promising.
Were they at AC Milan together?
Not at the same time. No,
not same time.
Milan went for Botman.
And didn't get him.
Sorry. Yeah. Right. Like Botman was never at AC Milan. Is the point I meant to make. But Milan went for Botman around the same time as we did, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that he opted to join Newcastle from Lille, I think it was.
Yes, and didn't AC sign Chow instead of Botman, I think, wasn't it?
I'm not sure if Chow was already there or not. I could be wrong because obviously left and right sided. You could be right. I'm not 100% sure. I'm digging up in my brain my old Football Manager save from about FM22 with AC Milan, like rapidly. I know they had Kalulu there at one point as a centre back, and I'm struggling to even remember who was there. I'm too old. Can't be doing that.
Yeah, you are.
Let's not talk about the past. Let's talk about the future. And for me, lads, we're already starting to see the future with Sven Botman and Malik Chow in centre back.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting. Obviously, it's unfortunate that Tino's going to be out just as Hall is coming back. But when Eddie Howe, if and when he has all of these lads fit and firing when it comes to a knockout game in the Champions League, if we get there, or a quarterfinal in a cup, if we get there, or a big Premier League game in March or April, that's going to be super interesting to see who Eddie Howe thinks his strongest back four are. And he's going to have some headaches, but headaches are what we want for a manager in a great way. Right, let's move on. A couple of news items in the Newcastle United world before we start to wrap up. And Alan, I'm going to come to you first because there's whispers. I think Craig Hope is the one that broke this online first, or at least was one of the first to make a lot of noise about seemingly some movement in terms of a new location for a training ground. Any truth to these, Alan Williamson?
So obviously we all know that I am basically inside the club, so I know everything. Yeah. Now basically it's come out that we have inquired and nearly all but bought land off the A19. So it's a development opportunity, Seaton Burn. It's I don't really know much about it, but it's leaked. The actual location is just off the Seaton Burn motorway. It's 50 acres of land, and from what I've seen, looks absolutely amazing. But it's just a big field at the minute. If they do go out and buy that, all of these whispers that maybe the PIF aren't fully invested just be put right in the bin, because they're going to go out and spend about 20 million on land and then develop a brand new state-of-the-art training ground and just go, we are here for the long term, and that's the end of it. But from what I read about it, what I've seen, it looks very, very, very positive. And 50 acres is absolutely gigantic. So we'll see what we get.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of gigantic, they only need to rename half of it because it's got Burn in one side, so they can just call it the Dan Burn training ground, the Dan Burn motorway. It's all good.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Sounds good.
More to follow, I'm sure, but it's one of the things that has been unanswered. There's obviously all the stadium talk that's still out there, but I even saw a very good tweet today. It's Charlie Bennett, I think, and he basically was saying a new training ground would have more of an impact on the club than a new stadium. Now, I would say that in terms of players, personnel, development, and obviously off the pitch, on the pitch, in terms of performances. From a playing perspective, I'm sure Eddie Howe would love an old new training ground, but obviously the stadium has bigger implications commercially and for the future of the club. But nice to hear something is happening, because I've not heard a whole lot about off the pitch stuff, bar like obviously PSR and transfer windows and all that nonsense. Okay, interesting. Speaking of which, Krisho,
yes,
I heard that, right, first of all, you love an acronym more than a glass of red wine and a vodka and tonic on a podcast week.
I do.
And this very day, we've come across, I think it was on the BBC Sport, on BBC Football website, with an article with the headline, Premier League set to decide on PSR alternative. And already there's a new acronym in circulation.
There is two new acronyms.
Great, better again
for everybody, right? So there, obviously, we all know PSR is highly controversial. It introduced to prevent clubs from overspending, allowing losses of 105 million over a 3-year reporting period. It seems like anti-competition, really, how it's worked out in actual practice. I'm glad they're looking at alternatives. What they've come up with, which is something that's already kind of in relation to the clubs that are in Europe, is squad cost ratio, the SCOR system, right, of financial control. So essentially,
I like it when you we're nearly at 9 p.m. I like when things get a little bit ASMR and you start talking about squad cost ratios, Krisho. It's very exciting.
You call it sexy, if you will, right? But so essentially, so it's an alternative, right? So it's about closer alignment with the European regulation. Okay, so it's a revenue test. So it's set at 70%. But the Premier League want their system to be set at 85%, because Villa and Chelsea have already been fined by UEFA for not. They've been over the 70%, which is, frankly, 70% is a bit low, really, if they want to start investing money and spending money. So we all know everything as far as to been dock points in PSR. They're considering lead action. It's become a little bit too noisy, I think, for the Premier League. So they need to absolutely look at an alternative. It's this kind of look back profitability test. It has its weakness. No system is perfect, right? But if you look at it, here's the other one that they're kind of trialing, as they say, because they're just making it up as they go along, right? Any old thing that comes their way, they're going to try and see, do we make money from it first? And then let's see how it affects the clubs and revenue, right? But so the other model is known as top to bottom anchoring. I mean, honestly, you couldn't make it up, right? And it's TBA is its acronym. Abbreviation is TBA, which is like to be announced, but they call it top to bottom anchoring. So that effectively caps the amount any club can spend as a multiple of the income earned by the league's bottom side. I mean,
is this what happens in La Liga?
No, it's the NFL. I think it's the NFL. Yeah. So the team that win the league can spend 10 times the amount that the bottom team, and it goes, so the team that finish second get 11, third get 13. So it's like it goes like that. So it tries to make it fair. It just makes it shite.
It sounds like it'll protect the teams that always stay in the Premier League from 1 to 15.
Exactly what it does.
I mean, the transfer window in 5 years' time is going to turn into the effing, I'm not going to say the other word, the effing bloody Premier League draft. So the top prospects are essentially going to be like, well, Sunderland came, 18th. They get first choice as the best player this year. Give me a break.
The Americanization of the Premier League is going to be the detriment of it.
It's well and truly underway. I mean, interviewing substitutes that come off. I'm waiting to be watching the second half when the ball goes in for a throw in, and they do a 15-second ad. Tell your man to wait before he throws the ball back in.
We've already got them interviewing players at halftime. I mean, what the fuck else are they going to do to us?
But look, there's the two systems, Paul. The SCR and TBA.
And it's a good break. Like, thank you for the initial breakdown of it, because this is literally only came out a few hours ago. So Krisho has done his homework first, and it's just obviously it comes into our world. Krisho, your point is valid. This is shit PR for the Premier League. Yeah. Considering they called it PSR, they just had to put an S in between the letters P and R, and it's still shit PR for them. Maybe that's what PS stands for. But it is, because it's not just about PR, it's about what makes sense, and it's actually really fucking with the Premier League, and with, in particular, these loopholes and selling academy players and all this shit that goes with it. I saw a very good comment in a WhatsApp group. I can't remember which one it was. Could have been one of ours. Maybe it could have not been about whatever they do. It's not going to benefit Newcastle, because they'll make sure it doesn't.
No, absolutely not.
But equally, from what I gather and from what I understand about the Premier League, is that any changes that go through get voted by all 20 Premier League clubs. And while a lot of those clubs hate us, a lot of other clubs are in a similar situation to us. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And we'll talk about it as the weeks go on the Irish Mag Show. Krisho has just become the SCR TBA PSR. Let's just make a word with those letters, Alan, and hopefully it's like
GIMP.
We'll accept.
Get me a mask. Look, just really quickly, right? In February, clubs, right, chose to continue with PSR just for this current season, on the proviso that it was just for this current season. I think that's 14 of the 20, right? So the other, we all know who they are. They were like, oh, thank God. Whew. But next season, that's why the Premier League very, very, very quickly over Christmas into the new year have to come up with some new systems, because the 14 clubs of the 20 that aren't winning in any of this, financially or otherwise, they're like, all right, PSR was okay for this season, but you need to break it down a little bit more specifically and give us a hand here, because if not, you might as well just have Premier League A, which is the top 8 teams, or top 6 or top 7 teams. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's just not working, and it will continue to get worse, and it won't get better. So I think something's going to come, and for all intents and purposes, we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled. But I think, Krisha, you're right. There is going to be movement on this probably as we go through Christmas into the new year. And it'll give us something else to talk about other than football, which we shouldn't be talking about as football fans. So let's get back to it before we wrap up. We play Premier League football again at the weekend. We are back at home. We welcome Nottingham Forest, a team who we have also got a very good record against in recent times. A team who's very much struggling even as we record this. At halftime, they are losing at home in the Europa League to FC Midtjylland 2-1.
Yes.
Also heard some talks about injuries. I think Murillo was taken off. Douglas Luiz,
Murillo's gone off.
An injury.
And so has Igor Jesus. He took a fairly hefty knock from what I can see as well. So I hate saying fingers crossed they're all out, but if they were all out, it wouldn't be a bad thing. So.
No. Well, it does appear, at least on the face of it, that Ange Postecoglou has not got off to a great start, and also may have brought his injury woes with him that he also experienced at Spurs. So all of this bodes well for us, Alan, as we look to take on Forest at the weekend. I want to hear your thoughts and, of course, predictions.
So we like playing against Ange Postecoglou.
We do.
We tend to do very well because he plays. The only way you can describe his high line is suicide football, because it's absolute chaos. Now, Murillo and Milinkovic, the centre-halves, are two sensational centre-halves. Nico Williams, and I don't know who the other fullback is. I couldn't tell you. Like, I put a gun to my head, don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm on it.
They signed a new, I believe they have Ola Aina, but I think he's injured. I can't remember who their other right back is. I think.
But if they're playing on the halfway line, like if Murillo's out, who is their quick centre half, they have that Savona guy or Morato or
Morato,
yeah, Morato, yeah.
He is pants. That Morato lad is absolutely awful. So I hope it's him that plays. But if they play that high line, we'll have a good old day against them because we have Anthony Elanga, who is one of the fastest human beings I've ever seen, never mind footballers. Anthony Gordon, who scored twice and seems to be getting back into a bit of form. You've Valdemada, who's having the time of his life scoring goals. It's boding well. It looks like it could be all right. We'll have Elliot Anderson returning to St. James's Park. He's looking so good, and it's great that we had to sell him, but here it is what it is.
And Matt Sells, don't show any disrespect to Matt Sells' time at Newcastle United, said no one ever.
I managed to see 2 of his games playing for Newcastle, and he was fucking awful.
Al Zinchenko. Zinchenko is at North Forest. He'll be playing left back.
No, Nico Williams starts left back for them.
Oh.
Don't know if he's playing at the moment. I'm not too sure. Time will tell. Alan, prediction.
I'm gonna go 3-0 to Newcastle.
Take that. We'll absolutely take that.
And I'm gonna go Malik Chow gets his first goal.
That's okay. Yeah. Right, Chris Show.
Savona plays right back for Notts Forest that we were kind of looking at, or supposedly looking at.
I believe I heard that, yeah. So, Chris Show, and knowing what we know about Nottingham Forest, Alan's just mentioned Elliot Anderson is playing well. They're absolutely not playing as well as they were last season. Obviously, in the summer, Gibbs White apparently was pushing for a move, which never happened. I don't know if that was contract games or not. Chris Wood is in and out of the team. I don't know if he's Ange's just kind of dropped him for the other fella that Alan mentioned. Is it Igor
Jesus?
Igor Jesus.
Yeah.
I keep mixing him up with the other fella that's at Brentford, who scored a couple of goals against Man United. What's his name again? He's Igor as well, isn't he?
Igor something, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chris Show.
Yeah.
Do you agree that this not only is this a team we do well against, but this is a team we should be beating, considering the state they're in now, under the manager they're under now?
Look, we should all understand that going away in Europe and getting your biggest win away is going to have those lads in some right.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. It's going to have them in a right humor all week, training very well, picking up the confidence of some people that maybe were lulling a little bit. I'm delighted we have a home game, and I'm delighted it's against Notts Forest because I can see us. We put in the same kind of commitment and same kind of set piece plays that we were working across midfield and along the wings. We'll get a lot of chances, and I can see us scoring 2 or 3 goals. Now, they might pin one back somewhere along the way, but I say 3-1 to Newcastle.
I've got 3-1 down as well. I do Super 6, I think, every week, and I just did it earlier, and I think I put down 3-1 as well. I do think this is, I think we're going to see Gordon on the left here again with Voltemadi up top, and I just think Gordon is, I'll always say it, there's just so much emotion going on in that lad's head that he's a vibes man, and he just runs on momentum and literally confidence, and there's ego there, and he'll be coming out of this game against USG having scored 2 penalties, having put away the demons or the fears of missing them. I think he'll be out for blood, and I think that he will definitely be on the score sheet.
The penalties were excellent, by the way, weren't they? The penalties were
2
very strong
penalties, yeah.
Which again, all does wonders for his confidence. Alan Williamson, there are interesting things happening for the Irish Mags this weekend around this game. Talk to us about meetups, and one in particular of an away day nature.
So I'm going to go with the first one, which is the one that I'll be at, unfortunately, because with a 7-week-old child, I don't get to do very many away days yet. So I'll be in the Bleaker looking after the usual regular spot. So if you're in and around Dublin, pop into the Bleaker. I'll be there for about 1 o'clock on Sunday and looking after the lads. But we also have an away day. Said away day is in Turles, County Tipperary, in the County Bar, Liberty Square. And I'm going to call it an air code for anyone who would like to show up. It's E41 C580. So the County Bar, Liberty Square, Turles is where we will be having our first away day of the season. Eyes emoji that we could be having another one.
Yes.
Eyes emoji.
Yes. Sure, even you, with that air code, even you can find it on Sunday.
Well, wait a minute. I'm on the 10 o'clock train on Sunday morning. Oh,
yes.
I'm down in Tip. I can't wait. It's going to be a right crack altogether. Food set up, loads of booze. I'm sure Turles has many, many tourist attractions before the game, which involve alcohol. And me and Tev will be, ball and singing. I hope that we beat Notts Forest all the way back up to Dublin, Houston later on Sunday night. Cannot wait, Jim. Cannot wait.
Special request from everyone.
Yeah.
Tev has now been at the Arsenal game, at the Union San Giuliano game, and he's going to be in Tip. So he hasn't been seen in Dublin. So can you just maybe chip him, like put a GPS on him, tag him, do something just to make sure he actually gets home?
His car's still outside my house. His car's still outside.
Okay, if anyone's seen Tev, just put it in the comments, please. If you see Tev anywhere at all, just always drop a comment so at least we have some sort of idea where he is, because he's not in the place he's meant to be, which seems to be his house and his place of work. Yeah. the man is on tour. We're gonna have to put an album on the website. Tev on tour. He'd need his own personal photographer, I think.
I think he would.
Anyway, on that big, massive, giant bombshell, I think that brings episode 95 of the Irish Mags show to a close. As usual, check out all the socials below, whether you're looking at YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple or any of those lovely places. And check out theirishmags.com. All of the latest news and photographs of meetups and Irish Mags on tour are live.
And if you could leave us a review on all those, it'd be great because it'll help boost us massively, which is something.
We're on the quest for 1,000 subs on YouTube, so let's get those over as well as we approach episode 100. We've got some guests lined up in the coming weeks, along with loads of exciting Newcastle talk, especially things like squad cost ratios and TBA.
all the fun stuff you definitely want to be hearing.
All of the fun stuff.
Well, look, we've got the big 100 coming up. That's probably going to be in and around the
first week in November, we think.
First week in November. So 5th of November, we're playing Champions League against
Bilbao.
Yes. So they're in and around the Bilbao game. So let's see what we can do. But the 100 one's going to be big. Big.
It's coming soon. We're going to be 100, lads. Wow. Who'd have thought it? We've only 5 weeks. We've only 5 weeks to not get cancelled. Let's do this. We can do it with your help, listeners. So keep us honest. We'll be back for more Irish Magnus next week. So until then, thank you very much, Alan. Thank you very much, Chris Show. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Paul.
Listening.
Yes,
thank you, me. How are the lads? It's long go fall. I will see you all very soon. Take care.
Good luck.